When someone finally waves a white flag in a war between two countries, there's still no victor between them. War could be one of the most costly things that a country could go through. And it doesn't matter if you were in the offense or defense. Just because we see that Russia has been doing a lot of the attacking on Ukraine in the news, doesn't mean that they're winning. It only takes one look at their economic state to see that while they're not losing lives, that might as well be happening as they're in a deep economical crisis. Welcome to the End of the World channel. We're here to serve you the latest news and bring you up to speed about global issues. We're sure there's no ignoring the Russia-Ukraine conflict right now, as it seems to be splashing the headlines almost every week. But are you filled in with the details on what's really going on? As much as one is aware about the casualties that Ukraine has been going through ever since Putin has declared war on its neighboring country, have you tried to shift your lens on what is happening to Russia? Everyone pays the price in a war. And just because the conflict has been hard on Ukraine doesn't mean that Russia has not been receiving damage. Bear with us as we delve into the state of Russia and if they could hold on to a few more months of war with Ukraine. But before that, what do you think will happen to Russia if they continue to burn the resources for this conflict with Ukraine? Do you think Putin would finally put an end to the Ukraine war once they burn out from fundings and military forces? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, it only makes sense to start at the very beginning. No, we won't bore you with the details of how Russia started to feel threatened by Ukraine's attempt to join NATO, because almost everyone has been briefed about it. We're talking about Russia's state before Putin decided to attack Ukraine with their guns blazing. Surely, if you aren't afraid to wage a war with another country, that means that you have everything in store and are prepared for its consequences. We could say that about Russia when we look at the general state of their economy before the war. Russia is one of the biggest exporters of oil. Other countries have grown to be dependent on their trade with them, and this has caused their economy to thrive. It's been reported that in 2021 alone, they made $489.8 billion from just exporting oil. Before the war, Russia's economy was pretty sturdy and had a good projection. However, ever since Putin has waged war on Ukraine, things have not been the same. Despite the Russian government putting on their bravado while they do their press conferences, they can't hide the fact that they are suffering losses from sanctions and spending money on their military defenses. Russia has an estimate of whopping 5.5 trillion rubles, or almost $91 billion in dollars spent on their military budget this 2022. It doesn't help that government officials have been less transparent about the country's economic state and have stopped reporting information about trades and capital outflow. This could only mean one thing. They are most likely having financial strains as they continue with their conflict with Ukraine. Russia was actually having a good momentum in their economy as they climbed with speed during the start of 2022, but it has all gone downhill after the war. Aside from their efforts to extend the war by skyrocketing their defense spendings, other countries have also implemented sanctions on Russia in order to pressure them into yielding. For instance, the US has blocked Russia from borrowing money in US banks, and the UK did the same as well. Russian flights were also banned in some countries, and luxury goods can't be exported anymore. International companies also cut ties with Russia by suspending their trade with the country. We can feel your frustrations through the screen, so why don't we all simmer down for a second? Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Going back, other than the external pressure for Putin to stop waging war in Ukraine, there have also been internal conflicts. Now, don't be mistaken, even Russians have not been siding with Putin lately. Just a month ago, thousands of Russians were arrested after they protested the war that Putin has been insisting on for months now. Russia's ministry officials dismissed the implications of the protest and stated that there was only a small number of participants to reflect what Russians really think of the war. Aside from that, it was also estimated that Russia's economic state can only return to normal after an estimation of 30 years. It's going to take decades before the country could recover from their own doing, and there's also no guarantees as of yet whether other countries are ready to trade with Russia again. As Western companies try not to associate themselves with Russia, these brands have been changing their names and rebranding in order to operate in the country. McDonald's goes by the name Tasty and that's it. Starbucks became Stars Coffee, and they have been working on KFC's rebranding in the future. These brands have been exiting Russia and selling their stores to local businessmen, hence the renaming. Even though businesses have been exiting the country so they could not associate with Russia anymore, this does not seem to faze Putin at all. Against all these odds though, it has been projected that Russia could still afford 2 more years of conflict with Ukraine. Their government is still confident because of their revenues from oil export, and the sanctions did not seem to have them waver on the Ukraine war. Although there has been a recession that's forecasted in the coming years for Russia because their economy will slow down in growth. And amidst all this, Ukraine is starting to regain the regions that Russia was able to infiltrate in the first few months of their offensive. So even though their financial loss would not be able to stop Russia, other circumstances may do that for them. Now, to really grasp the gravity of the situation, for sure you'll be able to do that when we get on a personal level. We're sure you're also affected by the Russia-Ukraine conflict because it has extended its tendrils on people's day-to-day spendings and has also slowed down the economic growth of most countries. Some countries are feeling the impact more than others. Take for example what has been happening to East Africa recently. Because East Africa has been relying on Ukraine's grain export, the war has lowered their food security and the country is currently experiencing mass starvation. Other countries have been in shambles as well because they get their oil from Russia and there's no way to make sure when they'll put an end to all of this. It's not only a question on whether Russia could withstand the war, as other countries are greatly impacted as well. Ukraine's current president Zelensky stated that they're ready to negotiate with Russia. However, Putin has been contradicting the statement, as he told the press that Ukraine has been shutting them down from any negotiations to be arranged. To answer the main question as to whether Russia could still withstand the war, you'd get a hesitant yes. But looking at the bigger picture, it seems that Putin is going through a lot of failures just from extending their war with Ukraine. Whether it's a matter of pride or assertion of Russia's militant powers, it's questionable if the results are still worth it despite the consequences that the country is facing. Until then, helpless civilians from both countries of the conflict will remain impacted the most by the war and keep wondering what it will take for either Putin or Zelensky to finally back down. Well, we'd hate to say goodbye, but we're afraid that's it for today's video. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you'll know when our next video drops. Thanks for watching.